Hey kids, it's me again, bringing you another great story from St. Joseph's Corner, where faith comes alive. And today, it's a really exciting day, because today's story is all about a very special saint named Saint Junípero Serra. He was a Catholic missionary who brought the gospel message to thousands of people in California. Saint Junipero was born in Spain in the year 1713. And from the time he was a young boy, he had a special desire to learn about Jesus and to share Jesus with other people. When he grew up, he became a friar, which means he joined an order of the Catholic Church that prays, reads the Bible, helps people, and also shares their faith. And Junipero was part of the Order of Friars Minor, otherwise known as the Franciscans. And just like St. Francis of Assisi, the founder of that religious order, St. Francis of Assisi, Saint Junipero also wore a brown robe and sandals. And of course, he also followed the teachings of Jesus Christ. After becoming a friar, Saint Junipero felt a strong desire to travel to far-off lands and share the gospel message with people who had never heard about. So in 1749, he boarded a ship and sailed across the ocean to Mexico. There he continued to learn about the native people, their languages, and their customs. And after spending several years learning all he could, he made plans to go even farther west to California. In 1769, Saint Junipero and his fellow friars arrived in Alta California, which is now the state of California. They traveled by foot and often walked for many days without food or water. Even though they suffered greatly, and even though they were sometimes attacked by Native Americans, they never gave up. They persevered in their journey because they knew they were following God's will. Upon reaching the land that is now San Diego, California, Saint Junipero and his companions built a small chapel, and it was the first mission in California. They continued to build more missions along the coast, and each mission consisted of a church, a house for the missionaries, and a school for the Native Americans. Now, before we continue, I want to take a moment to say thank you for joining us here at St. Joseph's Corner. Our goal is to bring you faith-filled stories, songs, and activities that will help you grow in your love for Jesus. So if you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss out on any of our new videos. And if you enjoy what we do here, be sure to share with your family and friends. All right, now let's head back to California and continue the story of Saint Junipero. As the missions grew, Saint Junipero also focused on teaching the Native American men, women, and children about Jesus and the Catholic faith. He taught them how to read and write, and he also taught them how to plant crops so they would have food to eat. He always treated them with kindness and respect. He learned their native languages so he could talk to them and teach them about God. Saint Junipero was especially fond of children. He loved to teach them about Jesus, and he also made sure they received the sacraments such as baptism, which is when we become children of God. In fact, Saint Junipero baptized over 6,000 people during his lifetime. That means that he helped more than 6,000 people become children of God through the sacrament of baptism. Even though Saint Junipero did all these wonderful things, he didn't always have an easy time. Sometimes the Native Americans did not understand why he and his fellow missionaries were coming to their land. Some of them had never seen a white man before, and some were afraid of them. Also, the missionaries had to deal with harsh weather conditions, and they often went without food and water for many days. But no matter what difficulties they faced, Saint Junipero and his fellow missionaries kept going. Saint Junipero continued to work in California until 1784, when he became the guardian of the missions. A guardian is like a protector, and in this role, Saint Junipero made sure that the missions continued to thrive. He also visited the missions regularly to check in on the friars and the Native Americans. During his time in California, Saint Junipero founded 21 missions in many cities, including San Diego and San Francisco, began because of these missions. The missions also became centers of culture, education, and religion. They had schools where Native Americans learned how to read and write, and they also had churches where people could worship God. Sadly, Saint Junipero died in 1784, but his legacy lived on. His work in California changed the history of the state forever, and he is remembered as the Apostle of California. The title Apostle means one who shares the good news. And Saint Junipero definitely shared the good news of Jesus with everyone he met. Junipero was a very brave man. He left his home in Spain and traveled to a far-off land where he didn't know the language or the customs. He also faced danger and hardship along the way, but he never gave up. And that's an example for us today. No matter what difficulties we face, we should never give up on sharing the good news of Jesus with others. Junipero was also a very patient man. He understood that it takes time to share the faith, and that people need to hear the good news of Jesus many times before they understand it. He didn't get discouraged when people didn't understand him right away, and he continued to share his faith with them no matter what. And that's an example for us today, to be patient when sharing our faith with others. We should never get discouraged if someone doesn't understand right away, because everyone has their own time to come to know Jesus. Finally, Saint Junipero was a man full of joy. He loved sharing the good news of Jesus because he knew that it brought people closer to God. He didn't see the difficulties of his work as a burden, but rather as an opportunity to serve God. And that's an example for us today, to find joy in sharing our faith. We should never see our efforts as a burden, but rather as an opportunity to bring people closer to God. Friends, today we celebrate the life of Saint Junípero Serra, missionary who bravely shared his faith with the Native Americans in California. Let us remember his bravery, patience, and joy as we continue to share the good news of Jesus with everyone around us. Thank you for watching and joining us here at St. Joseph's Corner. We hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new about Saint Junipero. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss out on any of our new videos. God bless you, and remember, Jesus loves you.